Welcome to the Baseface Network.
Hi, my name is Fairuz Ayuni binti Abdul Karim and my match number is 06DPR20F1044. Today, me and my friend want to share you about mediation. What is mediation? Mediation is first and foremost a non-binding procedure. This means that even though parties have agreed to submit a dispute to mediation, they are not so obligated to continue with the mediation process after the first meeting. In this sense, the parties remain always in control of mediation. The continuation of the process depends on their continuing acceptance of it. Since mediation is non-binding, the parties cannot be forced to accept a decision. Any settlement must be voluntarily accepted by both parties in order for it to be finalized. Unlike a judge or an arbitrator, therefore, the mediator is a not decision maker. The role of the mediator is rather to assist the parties in reaching their own decision on a settlement of a dispute. There are two main in which mediator assists parties in reaching their own decision. The first model is facilitative mediation. The mediator endeavors to facilitate communication between the parties and to help each side to understand the other's perspective, position, and interest in relation to dispute. While the second model is evaluative mediation. The mediator provides a non-binding assessment or evaluation of the dispute, which the parties are then free to accept or reject as the settlement of the dispute. It is up to the parties to decide which of these two models of mediation they wish to follow. The WIPO Arbitration and Mediation Center will assist them in identifying a mediator appropriate for the model that they wish to adopt. The next point I want to share to you about introduction of the company mediation. The World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO, is one of the 15 specialized agencies of the United Nations. Pursuant to the 1667 Convention establishing the World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO has created to promote and protect intellectual property across the world by cooperating with countries as well as international organizations. It began operation on 26 April 1917 when the convention entered into force. The current Director General is Singaporean Darren Chang, former head of the Intellectual Property Office of Singapore, who began his term on 1 October 2020. WIPO activities include hosting forums where international IP rules and policies are discussed and shaped, offering service globally that register and protect IP in various nations. In order to use IP for socio-economic development, WIPO also collaborates with government entities, non-government organizations, and private citizens. WIPO oversees 26 international treaties that address a wide range of intellectual property issues, from establishing this international patent classification to protecting audiovisual works. The General Assembly and the Coordination Committee jointly set policy and act as the primary decision-making bodies for the organization. The Director General of WIPO, who is currently Darren Chang of Singapore and took office on October 1, 2020, is also chosen by the General Assembly. WIPO is run by Secretariat, which aids in manage its daily operation. That's all from me. I will pass the presentation to the next presenter.
Hello, my name is Azri bin Matsuko. I want to talk about the function of rule in mediation. The WIPO mediation rules. Mediation is a relatively unstructured and informal procedure in which continued participation in the process, as well as the acceptance of any outcome. Depend on each party's agreement. Rules thus have a more limited function in a mediation than in binding arbitration. What is that function? By agreeing to submit a dispute to WIPO mediation, the parties adopt the WIPO mediation rules as part of their agreement to mediate. Those rules have the following main function. Firstly, they establish the non-binding nature of the procedure. Secondly, they define the way in which the mediator will be appointed. Next, they set out the way in which the mediator's fees will be determined. Besides that, they guide the parties as to the way in which the mediation can be commenced and the process can be established, while they provide the parties with assurance about the confidentiality of the process and the disclosures made during the process. Lastly, they determine how the cost of the procedure will be borne by the parties. Second, I will continue with for which dispute is mediation appropriate and what are its advantages. Mediation is not a suitable procedure for settling dispute in all cases where deliberate bad faith, counterfeiting of or privacy involved. Mediation with request the cooperation of both sides is unlikely to be appropriate. Similarly, where a party is certain that it has a clear-cut case, or where the objective of the parties or one of them is to obtain a natural opinion on a question of genuine difference, to establish a precedent, or to be vindicate publicity on an issue is dispute. Mediation may not be the appropriate procedure. On the other hand, mediation is an attractive alternative where any of the following are important priorities of either or both of the party. Firstly, minimizing the cost as possible in setting the dispute. Secondly, the maintenance of control over the dispute settlement process. Next, a speedy settlement. Besides that, the maintenance of confidentiality concerning the dispute. Lastly, all the preservation or development of an underlying business relationship between the parties to the dispute. The last mentioned property in particular makes mediation especially suitable where the dispute occurs between parties to a continuing contractual relationship, such a license, distribution agreement, or joint research and development (R&D) contract. Since, as mentioned above, mediation provide an opportunity for finding a solution by referring also to business interests, and not just to the strict legal right and obligation of the party. And the last, why choose WIPO mediation? The choice of WIPO mediation offer the following advantage. First and foremost is the low administration fee and an internationally based independent administrative authority with specific expertise in intellectual property. Therefore, the international list of mediators includes people with specific knowledge and experience in technical matters, business and intellectual property law, as well as experience in international commercial mediation. This being the case, the rules are flexible with provisions sensitive to the need for confidentiality protection while where mediation takes place in Geneva. Hearing room are provided free of charge. That's all from me. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Mageswaran and my matrix number is 06DPR20F1023 and I am from DPR5A. Now I'm going to present about the conclusion of mediation. For the conclusion, first we look about the main steps of mediation. The agreement to the mediate is the first stage in the mediation process. Parties' agreement to submit a disagreement to mediation sets the stage for the mediation process. Just an agreement may be included in a contract government the parties' business relationship like a license in which the parties stipulate the dispute arising from the contract will be resolved through mediation. The second step is to start a mediation request. The mediation procedure is started by one of the parties sending the center of a request for mediation once disagreement has arisen and the parties have decided to submit into mediation. A copy of the mediation agreement, a status of the issue, and the name and contract information for the parties and their representatives should all be included in the request of mediation. The mediator will be appointed as the following step. The center will get touch with the parties or other agent after receiving the request from the mediation to start talking about who will be the mediator unless the parties have already decided who will the mediator will be. Initial contracts between the mediator and the parties is the fourth step. Following the appointment, the mediator will speak with the parties over the phone for several initial consultations. Setting a timetable for ensuing process will be the aim of the initial discussion. First and subsequent meeting are the sixth phase. The mediator will discuss the with the parties and seek their consent on a number of issues, including whether all meetings between the mediator and the parties will take place with both parties present and if the mediator may occasionally hold separate meeting caucus with the party alone. And the finishing is the final stage. Each party naturally want to have the private consultation with his advisor and expertise. At the different points during the mediation process, discussion various aspects of mediation two-way options. The next point is the role of the WIPO aberration and the mediation center. It assists the parties in selecting and appointing the mediator as described above. It fixes in the consultation parties with the mediator the fees of the mediator. It administrates the financial aspect of the mediation by obtaining a deposit from each party of the estimated cost of the mediation and paying out the deposit, the fees of the mediator and the other support services, facilities such as fees for interpreters where they are required. Where the mediator takes a place before in Geneva, it provides in a meeting room and a party retiring room free of charge. Where the mediation takes places out Geneva, it assists the parties in organizing appropriate meeting rooms. It assists the parties in organizing any other support services may be needed, such as translation, interpretation, and secretarial service. The last point is costing for mediation. 2 sets of fees must be paid for mediation. The administration fee of the center, which amounts to 0.10% of the value dispute, up to maximum of $10,000, which is reaches the amount is dispute is $10,000 million. Those are payable to the mediator. As the mediator above are negotiated fixed time of the appointment of the mediator. The table shows the costing for per hour and per day and the maximum level and the minimum level. For conclusion, however, mediation can be effective for workplace conflict when the clashes are causing employee turnover, a general lack of respect among employees, or a decrease in an employee moral or organizational success. Mediation to resolve a conflict between employees should be voluntary and conducted by a facilitator who is patient, able to remain neutral and trusted by parties. This process may help the employees begin to discuss his or her concern is less emotionally charged way in preparation for the mediation meeting. Once the parties are brought together, begin by the reviewing process, expectation and the ground rules for the participation, including the importance of listening and respecting of the other's feeling and opinion. The facilitator should clarify that his or her role mediator is establish a climate where open and respectful communication can thrive, and where the parties are empowered to seek solutions are they mutually acceptable and actionable. After the ground rules have been established, each party is given opportunity to tell its story. However, the conflict has persisted while other employee listens and does not interrupt the present conflict information. That's all from me. Thank you everyone for listening.